Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks once again for joining us here at KAKM for Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. On the morning watch map here, we've got coastal flood warnings continuing tonight for the Yukon Delta coast, as well as eastern Norton Sound and the southern coastline of the Seward Peninsula areas, and high surf advisories for St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait coast for tonight into tomorrow, as well as the Chukchi Sea coast here, or the northwest coast there. And then there's a winter storm warning out continuing until noon tomorrow here for the Noatak Valley area for 12 to 24 inches of snow, storm total accumulation in that area. And then for the Kobuk Valley on down into the middle Yukon Valley, that winter storm warning out for tonight into early tomorrow, and looking for storm total accumulations through this area of about 6 to 12 inches. And then we've got winter weather advisories here for the central interior and the Koyukuk Valley, as well as the southeastern Brooks Range for tonight and into tomorrow. In that time frame, they're looking for anywhere from 4 to 7 inches of snow to fall through these areas again tonight into tomorrow. And also we have a high wind watch out for Wednesday here for the central Aleutians, including Adak and Atka, for some pretty good north and northwest winds that could gust up as high as 75 miles per hour, along with 60-knot northwest winds in the marine forecast there. And again, that's out for Wednesday as a pretty intense storm begins to move northeastward. And then that'd bring probably gusty winds as high as 60 miles an hour here to the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula, with some full gales in that area. And on the satellite imagery yesterday, a pretty nice day here along the eastern Gulf Coast and across the Panhandle. We had this large low pressure area out here over the northwest Bering Sea, and then the front pushing eastward, bringing snow into the Kuskokwim Valley and back to the northwest, with a lot of cloudiness spreading over south central Alaska, and bringing some rain into the Bristol Bay area, and then trailing back along the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula with a pretty good break coming on shore, and putting that in motion again. Again, the main low far enough back to the west there that was tracking off to the northeast, and brought some pretty good winds today in across the Norton Sound area and Seward Peninsula. Nome receiving gusts of 40 miles per hour from the southwest there, with rain today, and also some rain and gusty east winds up across Kotzebue Sound with gusts in the 30 to 35 mile per hour range. And then the snow with this cloud mass here over the Kobuk Valley onto the northwest and the northwest interior, and also some areas of light snow here along the eastern and central Arctic coast. And then we're looking at the front having pushed through the Panhandle earlier today with rain. That became more showery this afternoon as it continued eastward there into Canada. Next storm system here coming across the Alaska Peninsula with gusty winds and rain across Bristol Bay back to the eastern Aleutians, and rain spreading up towards southwest Kodiak Island this afternoon. Otherwise, just a lot of cloudiness here across the Kenai Peninsula and spreading up into northern Cook Inlet. And on the chart, there's a low center this afternoon right over the Alaska Peninsula there, with the frontal system spreading up toward Kodiak Island. Otherwise, we had a lot of scattered snow showers here over the Susitna Valley and the Alaska Range areas, with showers of rain back to the west. and then the rainfall and gusty winds there from the Seward Peninsula, and kind of a mixed precipitation situation up there over the northwest interior. That mostly snow again over the Kobuk and Koyukuk Valley areas of snow, 1 to 2 inches falling into the mid-Tanana Valley, with light snow extending all the way to Northway, and then the rain with this front changing to showers there across the southeast coast, and then out there to the west, the next system coming in from the Kamchatka Peninsula in toward the western part of the Bering Sea. Anyway, for tonight, this system moves right up, almost due right up Shelikof Strait to about Fognak Island, and that'll increase the wind and rain there across Kodiak Island. Mixed condition here, Prince William Sound back down to the southwest. Chance of snow after midnight for south central Alaska, cutting off northern Cook Inlet there, but extending back to the western Alaska Range. Got a trough with some scattered snow showers, or kind of an enhanced area of rain and snow showers from the Yukon Delta coast, St. Lawrence Island, up into the Seward Peninsula. The old low shifts up to the northwest there, keeping snow going over the northwest interior, back across the Selawik Valley and eastward into the northern Koyukuk Valley, and some scattered snow showers to the south there. It should be dry here over the eastern interior. Few isolated showers there over the Panhandle, and then the next system, that rainfall just off the coast there, which we'll see for tomorrow, moves into the northeast Gulf of Alaska. So small craft advisories with rain along the coastal areas, spreading inland during the day, with areas of snow. Again, snow in the morning hours here for south central Alaska, scattering out to scattered rain and snow showers in the afternoon. Got some areas of snow lingering back here along the western Alaska Range, but for the most part, the Tanana Valley, eastern interior, mostly dry with just an isolated snow shower or two. And that low center there just west of Point Hope, a trough swinging some more snow and precipitation into the Kotzebue Sound area and the Kobuk Valley. And again, light snow up over the Koyukuk Valley, and another trough with most of the snowfall occurring along and north of that trough. Will keep a chance of snow mainly along the western Arctic coast. And this system spread some wind and rain in across the Pribilof Islands, with rain reaching or making landfall probably during the afternoon hours at the earliest here from the Yukon Delta coast up towards St. Lawrence Island. Otherwise, here for the southwest coast, Kuskokwim to Togiak Bays into the southwest, just some scattered showers, which should be a mostly dry day here with pretty strong westerly winds. We got 50-knot winds here in the marine forecast for Kodiak Island, but that should begin to diminish late tomorrow afternoon. And then a lot of moisture out here coming northward with that next system south of Shimia. Tomorrow we'll see deepens into quite a low pressure area and moves to just east of Atka Island. And we've got good gale force winds ahead of this front into the eastern Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula, with rain heavy at times all the way north to the southwest coast, becoming mixed with rain and snow here over the Yukon Delta up toward the Seward Peninsula, but should stay cool enough in spite of the southerly wind flow to keep it mostly in the form of snow. So we've got more snow moving into the northwest interior, back to the western Arctic coastal areas, but the north slope looking dry with some clearing. Partly sunny weather here from the Tanana Valley down across south central Alaska, Copper River Basin, partly cloudy skies. Dry weather all along the North Gulf Coast with some possible sunshine, and then some scattered showers here over the southeast coast, continuing as an upper level trough slides off to the east-southeast, keeping it kind of unsettled in that area. But got the high wind watch out here for the central Aleutians in the gradient here, where the lines are closest together on these surface maps. That's where the winds blow the strongest, and you see quite a tight packing of those lines. So look for winds gusts out of the northwest up to 75 miles per hour, mostly for Adak and Atka, and then lighter winds off to the east. And for temperatures this afternoon across the Panhandle, mostly in the 40s, but cooler upper 30s there at Juneau with 37. There's 46 down at Klawock, 44 at Sitka and Yakutat, lower 40s for the North Gulf Coast and Prince William Sound, with a 37-degree reading at Seward, while Homer and Kodiak were up to 45. Lower 30s here for northern Cook Inlet with 31 at Kenai, just 23 at Talkeetna and 22 over Gulkana. 18 degrees with some light snow in Northway, and same thing, 21 degrees at Delta with 25 in Fairbanks. Milder conditions back to the west here, Tanana up to 30 and Galena at 39. Otherwise, McGrath had 37, but Koyukuk Valley there at Bettles, 20 degrees, 14 at Fort Yukon. That same temperature matched at Anatuvik, while Arctic Village had 3 degrees. Teens here, mid to upper teens along the central and eastern Arctic coast. Kaktovik at 14, Nuiqsut at 17, and then 18 back at Wainwright, and then much milder down to the southwest there with lower to mid 30s there with 34 degree reading at Kivalina and Point Hope, as well as Shishmaref. Kotzebue had 36, upper 30s along the southern Seward Peninsula coast, and then there's a 37 at Sleepmute with 38 at Bethel, while St. Mary's had 40. And off to the southwest here for the Alaska Peninsula, lower to mid 40s, that same temperature pattern showing up all along the Aleutians, with lower 40s for the Pribilofs and lower 40s also for Bristol Bay, with Dillingham at 41. Lows tonight, lower 30s to lower 40s here across the southeast coast. Otherwise, teens here over the eastern interior, but Arctic Village forecasting a low of 6 above. Teens for the Arctic coast, and then lower 30s, much milder here under those southerly wind conditions. Lower 30s all the way down to Bristol Bay, with upper 30s to lower 40s over the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians. Highs for tomorrow in the 40s over the Aleutians and Bristol Bay area, 30s over the southwest interior and the Seward Peninsula once again, and mid to upper 20s for the western Arctic coast. Otherwise, teens and lower 20s for the east side there, and teens and 20s here across the eastern interior, with mid 20s for the Copper River Basin. For flying weather, we've got IFR here forecast tomorrow afternoon for the southeast coast there, with marginal VFR down to Dixon Entrance and the Queen Charlottes, and that'll extend back up over the portions of the eastern Copper River Basin along and around the Alaska Range here on down toward the Aleutian Range, with IFR here over the Kobuk, Selawik Valley areas in toward Bettles, and then back up to just south of Kivalina. Marginal VFR for the central and western Arctic coast, with marginal conditions extending through the Bering Strait all the way down to the Pribilofs and the central Aleutians. We've got VFR in the forecast for the eastern Aleutians on up into Bristol Bay, as well as VFR developing here over south central Alaska, and then with that northwest wind should become VFR for Kodiak Island. And for Anatuvik, marginal VFR with the lowest conditions on the southern approach for both Anatuvik and Adigan. Again, possible VFR on the north entrance. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR in the forecast. Same for Rainy as well, looking marginal there. Windy, marginal VFR. Isabel starting out VFR and then becoming marginal, while for Mentasta, same forecast, same trend, starting out VFR, becoming marginal by late morning. Tanita, the other way around, marginal VFR will become VFR in the afternoon. Portage, IFR to VFR, big improvement there from the morning into the afternoon. Chilkoot and White, marginal becoming IFR. Looking at the freezing levels here at the surface, way up into the Chukchi Sea and then back down across southern Alaska, just north of the Panhandle, with 2,000 feet across the southeast coast and the Gulf of Alaska to Kodiak Island and back out toward the Pribilofs. Icing here with the system over the southeast coast there. Look for occasional widespread moderate icing below about 11,000 feet for the northern Panhandle, back to about Yakutat. Icing free here back to the west, Kodiak Island into the southwest interior. Areas of light to isolated moderate rime or mixed icing here up over the northwest interior. And then with all that moisture sliding northeastward here, pretty widespread area just reaching the southwest coast, extending back across the northern Bering Sea, then a narrow band that becomes a little more widespread with all the moisture with that next system pushing up toward the western Aleutians. Southwesterly flow aloft here over the state, about 50 to 55 knots, with the main jet stream down to the south of the Aleutians, cutting across the Gulf of Alaska and diving down toward California, with a pretty broad trough out here over the Bering Sea and southward across the west central Aleutians. 9,000 foot wind forecast for tomorrow. Westerlies to southwest at about 40, as high as 50 knots here up over the northern Bering Sea, with 20 to 30 knot west southwesterlies into the interior. Lighter winds with less of a more spread out pattern here over the eastern interior, just 10 to 15 knots there, and then continue with the southwest flow into the Panhandle up to about 30 or 35 knots, and then 50 knot winds out of the west across the Gulf of Alaska. 3,000 feet, that same pattern here with this low tracking eastward into the northeast Gulf. Pretty good winds on the south side of that low, up to 50 knots, lighter and more southwesterly and across the Panhandle. Very light winds here over the southeast interior. and pretty broad swath of southwesterlies continue here from the Aleutians right up across the eastern Bering Sea at 30 to 40 knots, dropping off to about 20 to 25 knots up over the northwest interior. And turbulence-wise, occasional moderate chop here, Prince William Sound, the southern Kenai Peninsula, and possibly severe turbulence here for the east side of Kodiak Island tomorrow morning, but that'll be improving into the afternoon hours with light to isolated moderate turbulence advancing eastward in across the southeast coast. And then we've got some turbulence here up over the western Brooks Range area extending down, where it becomes a little bumpier here over the northeast and eastern Bering Sea areas down to the Pribilofs and also over the central Aleutians. And after hangar flying, Perry will be back with the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. I'd like to thank Alaska Public Media for their support of hangar flying, which helps keep Alaskans up to date and informed about aviation events in Alaska. This evening, we are pleased to have as our guest Jane Dale. She is the Executive Director of the Alaska Air Carriers Association. Jane, welcome to Hangar Flying.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I know that you've been very busy with planning and organizing the Alaska Air Carriers annual banquet and safety awards with the Medallion Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about this event?
Well, the event will take place on November the 6th at the Marriott Hotel, and it will begin at 5 p.m. with a reception and dinner to follow. And after that, the Medallion Foundation will be recognizing air carriers that have earned stars and shield through their programs. And the Alaska Air Carriers Association will be honoring Alaskan aviation legends.
And who are some of those legends who are going to be honored this year?
This year we've got 7 legends, and they start with Lowell Thomas Jr., longtime pilot in Alaska, Ketch Ketchum, owner and operator of Ketchum Air Service here at Lake Hood, Valdez, and on the Kenai. Bob Bielefeld, owner and operator of Kenai Aviation, based in Kenai. Jim Rowe, owner of Bering Air, based in Nome, Alaska, first to provide air transport to the Far East Russia. Larry Thompson, owner of Homer Air, and Nancy Livingston Stratford, who, together with Arlo Livingston, based in Juneau, Alaska, but her career started long before she came to Alaska. It was during World War II in England that she was flying over 50 military aircraft, transporting them for service and overseas. And our last legend was Bob Jacobs, who recently passed away. Born in 1917, started in Southeast and eventually found himself in Nome and flying out of Fairbanks and then flying all over the world. A remarkable man. He will be missed.
That's an extremely impressive list. Can you tell me, how do these folks get selected?
Well, the Alaska Air Carriers Association and other aviation groups meet and review the list of nominations that we receive from the public and nationwide. And we review everyone, and from that list, we select the legends for the giving year. And then that gets the ball rolling for the air carriers, and we quickly have to ramp up and interview and find photos and learn about their history to create our book.
So you mentioned the book. You do a book that's available at the banquet or shortly afterwards. It tells a story about them?
Yes, every legend, there's a long chapter that we create and publish. And our book is available for purchase generally at the banquet or anytime through the Alaska Air Carriers Association.
And during the banquet, the legends that are there, do they have an opportunity to talk, tell stories, get to mingle with the crowds at all?
They will get an opportunity to mingle with the crowd during the reception and certainly afterwards. Everyone will be able to leave the banquet with a magazine that the Alaska Dispatch produces and takes a portion of our stories to create their short stories. And Yeah, we will provide each one with a plaque, and they will be allowed a short amount of time to come to the podium and tell a little bit more about themselves.
This sounds really fun and
It's
a great chance to catch up on some history of Alaska, as well as the whole United States, potentially. So is the event open to the public?
The event is open to anyone that's interested in joining us. We're selling tickets directly from the Alaska Air Carriers Association, and they're welcome to call us.
And what's your number?
277-0071.
And how much are tickets?
Tickets are $125 a piece. $25 of the ticket revenue goes into our scholarship fund. And during our convention in February, we'll be offering scholarships.
And can you just review when and where the banquet's going to be held?
The banquet is at the Marriott Hotel in downtown Anchorage. The reception will start at 5 p.m. on November the 6th. We will be offering dinner, and then the Medallion Foundation will be presenting awards to carriers that have earned stars and shields, and then the Alaska Aviation Legends will be honored.
Well, it sounds like a very exciting evening and a lot of work in planning.
A lot of work in planning, but it's worth it. It's a lot of fun, and we're honored to do it.
Well, thank you for coming on Hangar Flying and talking about this great program, and we hope to see you there.
We'll see you there, Mary. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Jane. It's been a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, thank you for your support, and thank you for watching Hangar Flying. Until next time, fly safely.
Welcome back to your Alaska weather. I'm meteorologist Perry Daney. Now for your marine forecast. Starting off with the sea ice forecast, the Beaufort Sea still has total coverage with sea ice, and along the northwest coastline you still have continued sea ice forming there. You still have some sea ice also in the Kotzebue and Norton Sound region. Also, the Anadyr region Gulf, you have some sea ice also forming. Tomorrow and the next day we're going to have a southerly wind push bring it up through the Bering Strait, and that'll start pushing some of the sea ice farther to the north and west. So you may see some break along the northwest coastline there. Now your marine forecast for Tuesday for the southeast, you're going to have inside waters, small craft winds southerly to southeasterly, and then southerly there near Lynn Canal. The outside waters, you're going to have southwesterly, small craft and gale force winds southeasterly near Yakutat, again with a low pressure system that's starting to move up into the Gulf. For Wednesday, the inside waters are going to be northerly from Lynn Canal as you continue to go southward, and then start shifting to the southerly at 20 knots there from Dixon Entrance. The outside waters are going to be predominantly all small craft and a little weaker as you get near Yakutat. Wave heights are going to be 18 to 13 feet as you go farther north into the Gulf. For the Tuesday marine forecast for South Central, you're going to have through the Cook Inlet northerly winds, small craft, and then from Prince William Sound easterly winds 30 knots, and then he goes along the eastern Kenai. They'll shift to northwesterly and northwesterly gale force coming through the Barren Islands, and also westerly gale force through the Shelikof region. You'll have storm force winds there just off Kodiak. And wave heights are going to be ranging from 7 feet and higher as you get near Kodiak to 19 feet. For Wednesday, starting off with the Cook Inlet, you're going to have northeasterly winds 10 knots, and then start shifting more westerly as you get to the southern end. And then with this system that's going to be coming into the Gulf, that's going to cause the winds to become more southeasterly through the Barren Islands, gale force. And then on the backside, you're going to have westerly winds through Shelikof and the Kodiak Island region. And then for Prince William Sound, northerly winds at 10 knots. For the Alaska Peninsula, for Tuesday, you're going to have predominantly all westerly winds, small craft winds on the Bering side, and a little stronger there for the Shelikof Islands in that region there, gale force winds. Wave height's going to be ranged from 8 feet to 10 feet on the Bering side, and a little higher with the stronger winds on the Pacific side. For Wednesday, pretty much small craft winds on the Bering side for the Bering, a little for the Bristol Bay region, and then gale force winds from Perryville down to Cape Sarashef. On the Pacific side, gale force winds westerly and then more southerly going through the Sherikoff region up to Cape southern end of Kodiak Island. For the Alaska Peninsula, Aleutian Islands, Aleutian Islands, you're going to have southerly winds, gale force winds with this next system that's going to be skirting just south of the central Aleutians, and you're going to have gale force winds on the backside with this low pressure system, and they're going to be northwesterly there from Shemya and southeasterly there from Adak and Attu at 45 knots. For Wednesday, the Aleutian Islands, you're going to have predominantly all northwesterly winds, high-end gale force, storm force winds, and again, that's with this major North Pacific low. It's going to be pushing up near Adak and Attu, and you're going to have, again, pretty high sea heights ranging from 17 to 24 feet, and 29 you go farther east along the chain there. And then for the Tuesday's forecast for west coast marine area, you're going to have pretty much southerly winds. They're going to be slightly weaker since that system's farther north, farther south of the Bering Sea, and your wave heights are going to be anywhere from 9 to 12 feet. For Wednesday, pretty much all southerly winds, again small craft. The northern coastline, easterly winds, small craft, and then more northeast as you go down the Bering Strait, and they shift to southerly. And then for Wednesday, pretty much southerly, then northeasterly along the coastline, and becoming more southeast and small craft. For tonight's forecast, you have the secluded low sitting off near Kodiak Island and mixed precip going through the Prince William Sound, and then snow to the west. This is your Alaska weather. Join us tomorrow.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.